For this purpose, they can offer any kind of respect to anyone. But when their personal interest is over, they are no longer friends. Haribo. This selfish nature is not only found among the richer class of men on this planet, but is present even in personalities like Indra and other demigods. Too much wealth makes a man selfish. A selfish man is not prepared to take to Krishna consciousness and is condemned by great devotees like Sukadeva Goswami. In other words, possessions of too many worldly riches is a disqualification for advancement in Krishna consciousness. What a wonderful instructions. So now we will continue. After defeating Indra, Krishna arranged to marry the 16,100 girls brought from the custody of Bhaumasura. By expanding himself in 16,100 forms, he simultaneously married them all in different palaces in one auspicious moment. So this is also a lesson. If you want to marry more than one, you should expand yourself. He thus established the truth that Krishna and no one else is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is nothing impossible for Krishna because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is all-powerful, omnipresent, and imperishable. And as such, there is nothing wonderful in these pastimes. All the palaces of the more than 16,000 queens of Krishna were full with suitable gardens, furniture, and other paraphernalia, of which there is no parallel in this world. So there is no exaggerations in this story from Srimad Bhagavatam. The queens of Krishna were all expansions of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmiji. Krishna used to live with them in different palaces, and he treated them in exactly the same way as an ordinary man treats his wife. And also we see from the Bhaktivinoda Thakur that all these Lakshmijis, and they are also the expansion of Srimati Radharani. So we should always remember that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was playing exactly like a human being, although he showed his extraordinary opulences by simultaneously marrying more than 16,000 wives in more than 16,000 palaces. He behaved with them just like an ordinary man, and he strictly followed the relationship between husband and wife required in ordinary homes. Therefore, it is very difficult to understand the characteristic of the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead. Even demigods like Brahma and others are unable to probe into the transcendental pastime of the Lord. Bahunam Janmanam Ante, that verses that hardly one knows Krishna in truth. The wives of Krishna were so fortunate that they got the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their husband, although their husband personality was unknown even to the demigods like Brahma. Haribo. So in their dealings as husband and wife, Krishna and his queens would smile, talk, joke, embrace, and so on. And their conjugal relationship ever increasingly developed. In this way, both Krishna and the queens enjoy transcendental happiness in their household life. So that's also give us the glimpse that Krishna is impartial to everybody. So whoever has any rasas, they can get equal enjoyment in that particular rasas they have. So each of them used to receive Krishna personally when he entered the palace. They engage in getting him seated on a nice coach, presenting him with all kind of worshipable paraphernalia, washing his lotus feet with Ganga water, offering him betel nuts, and massaging his legs. So in this way, they were giving him relief from the fatigue of being away from home. They saw to fanning him nicely, offering him fragrant essential floral oil, decorating him with flower garlands, dressing his hair, asking him to lie down to take rest, bathing him personally, and feeding him nice palatable dishes. All these things were done by each queen herself. They did not wait for the maidservants. In other words, Krishna and his different queens displayed on this earth an ideal household life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, fourth chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of the demon Bhaumasura. So now we are starting the chapter 5, talks between Krishna and Rukmini. So intimate, so nice to see that Prabhupada has given us the access to the wonderful things. Once upon a time, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all knowledge to all living entities, from Brahma to the insignificant ant, was sitting in a bedroom of Rukmini, who was engaged in the service of the Lord along with her assistant maidservants. Krishna was sitting on the bedstead of Rukmini, and the maidservants were engaged in fanning him with chamra. Lord Krishna's dealing with Rukmini as a perfect husband is a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of the personality of Godhead. There are many philosophers who propound a concept of the absolute truth in which God cannot do this or that. They deny the incarnation of the God or the supreme absolute truth in human form. But actually, the fact is different. God cannot be subjected to our imperfect sensual activities. He is the all-powerful, omnipresent personality of Godhead, and by his supreme will, he can not only create, maintain, and annihilate the whole cosmic manifestation, but he can also descend as an ordinary human being in order to execute the highest mission. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there is a discrepancies in the discharge of the human occupational duties, he descends. He is not forced to appear by any external agency, but descend by his own internal potency in order to re-establish the standard function of the human activity, as well as to simultaneously annihilate the disturbing element in the progressive march of human civilization. In accordance with the principle of the transcendental pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he descended in his eternal form of Sri Krishna in the dynasty of the Yadavs. The palace of Rukmini was wonderfully finished. There were many canopies hanging on the ceiling with laces bedecked with pole garlands, and the whole palace was illuminated by the effulgence of the valuable jewels. There were many flower orchids of Baila and Chameli, which are considered to be the most fragrant flowers in India. There are many clusters of these plants with blooming flowers enhancing the beauty of the palace. And because of this wonderful fragrance of the flowers, little groups of burning bees were gathered around the trees, and at night the pleasing moonshine glittered through the network of holes in the windows. There were many heavily flavored trees of parijata, and the mild wind stirred the flavor of the flower all around. A wonderful palace, eh? So many wonderful aromas. Within the walls of the palace, there was incense burning, and the fragrant smoke was leaking out of the window shutters. And within the room, there were mattresses covered with the white bedsheets, resembling the foam of milk. The bedding was as soft, as white as milk foam. In this situation, Lord Sri Krishna was very comfortably sitting and enjoying the service of Rukmini, assisted by her maidservants. So wonderful aroma, huh? Rukmini was also very eager to get the opportunity of serving the Supreme Personality Godhead as her husband. She therefore wanted to serve the Lord personally and took the handle of the chamra from the hand of the maidservant and began to move the fan. The handle of the chamra was made of gold, decorated and bedecked with valuable jewels, and it became more beautiful when it was taken by Rukmini, because all of her fingers were beautifully set with jewel rings. Her legs were decorated with ankle bells and jewels, which rang very softly between the pleats of her sari. Rukmini's raised breasts were smeared with kumkum and saffron. Thus, her beauty was enhanced by the reflections of the reddish color emanating from her covered breast. The highly raised lower part of her buttocks was decorated with a jewel lace girdle, and a locket of great effulgence hung on her neck. Above all, because she was engaged in the service of the Lord Krishna, although at that time she was old enough to have grown up sons, her beautiful body was beyond comparison in the three worlds. When we take account of her beautiful face, it appears that the curling hair on her head, the beautiful earring on her ears, her smiling mouth, and her necklace of gold all combined to shower rains of nectar. And it was definitely proved that Rukmini was none other than the original goddess of fortune, who is always engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Narayana. So the pastime of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayan and Lakshmi, which are of an exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwarka. The characteristics of Rukmini were unusually bright, and Krishna was very much satisfied with her behavior. Krishna had experienced that when Rukmini was offered Parijata flower by Narad Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of her co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree, and that was actually done by Krishna. The tree was brought down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. And after this episode, Krishna expected that because Satyabhama had been rewarded by a full tree of Parijat, Rukmini would also demand something. Rukmini did not mention anything of the incident. However, for she was grave and simply satisfied in her service. What a wonderful qualities, huh? No envy. Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated, and therefore he schemed in order to see the beautiful face of Rukmini in an irritated conditions. Although Krishna had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familial affection. He would create a particular situation between himself and his wife in which the wife would criticize him in irritation of love. And Krishna would really enjoy this. In this case, because Krishna could not find any fault with Rukmini, for she was very great and always engaged in his service, he smilingly, in great love, began to speak to her. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmaka, a powerful king. Thus Krishna did not address her as Rukmini. He addressed her this time as the princess, as follows. My dear princess, it is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal order wanted to marry you. Although not all of them were kings, all possessed the opulence and riches of the kingly order. They were well behaved, learned, famous among the kings, beautiful in their bodily features, and personal qualification, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way. And over and above that, your father and your brother had no objection to such marriages. On the contrary, they give their word of honor that you would be married with Shishupal. The marriage was sanctioned by your parents. Shishupal was a great king and was so lusty and mad after your beauty that if he had married you, I think he would always have remained with you, just like your faithful servant. So in comparison to Shishupal, with his personal qualities, I am nothing. Ego. And you may personally realize it. I'm surprised that you rejected the marriage with Shishupal and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Shishupal. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband because you are so beautiful, sober, grave, and exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I can address you as my beautiful wife, but still, I may inform you of my actual position, that I am inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. Haribol. Krishna continued. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasandha that I could not dare to live on the land. And thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. It is not my business to disclose this secret to others. But you must know that I'm not very heroic. I'm a coward and I'm afraid of them. Still, I'm not safe because all the great kings of the land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Another fault is that although I am on the throne of Dwarka, I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal uncle Kamsa, the kingdom was given to my grandfather. So actually, I have no possessions of kingdom. Beside that, I have no fixed aim in life. People cannot understand me very well. What is the ultimate goal of my life? They know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. People expected that I would follow the footsteps of my foster father, Nand Maharaj, and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of us, a sudden, I left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life. They do not know whether I am a coward boy or a prince, whether I am a son of Nand Maharaj or the son of Vasudeva, because I have no fixed aim in life. People may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I'm surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. Krishna is continued, Haribol. Beside this, I'm not very much polished, even in social etiquette. A person should be satisfied with one wife. But you see, I have married many times, and I have more than 16,000 wives. I cannot please all of them as a polished husband. My behavior with them is not very nice, and I know you are very much conscious of it. I sometimes create a situation with my wives which is not very happy because I was trained in a village in my childhood. I'm not well acquainted with the etiquette of urban life. I do not know the way to please a wife with nice words and behavior. And from practical experience, it is found that any woman who follows my way or who becomes attracted by me is ultimately left to cry for the rest of her life. Very good. So in Vrindavan, many gopis were attracted to me, and now I have left them, and they are living but are simply crying for me in separation. I have heard from Akrura and Uddhava that since I left Vrindavan, all my cowherd boyfriends, the gopis and Radharani, and my foster father Nand Maharaj are simply crying constantly for me. I have left Vrindavan for good and now engage with the queens in Dwarka, but I am not well behaved with any of you. So you can very easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I am not a very reliable husband. The net result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only. Krishna continued. My dear beautiful princess, you may also know that I'm always penniless. Just after my birth, I was carried penniless to the house of Nand Maharaj, and I was raised just like a cowherd boy. Although my foster father possessed many hundreds of thousands of cows, I was not proprietor of even one of them. I was simply entrusted to take care of them and tender them. But I was not the proprietor. Here also, I'm not proprietor of anything, but I'm always penniless. There is no cause to lament for such a penniless condition. I possess nothing in the past, so why should I lament that I do not possess anything at present? You may note also that my devotees are not very opulent persons. They also are very poor in worldly goods. Those who are very rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Krishna consciousness. On the contrary, when a person becomes penniless, whether by force or by circumstances, he may become interested in me if he gets the proper opportunity. Persons who are proud of their riches, even if they are offered association with my devotees, do not take advantage of consciousness of me. In other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but the richer class of men have no interest. I think, therefore, that your selection of me was not very intelligent. You appear to be very intelligent, trained by your father and brother, but ultimately you have made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion. So Krishna is continuing, but we should be punctual. I think also I can say through my own practical experience raising the fund for the temple, so many rich people living in Houston, you know, that to give that $50,000 is nothing for them. But how many can we find? Very, very rare. But the person, common people, working people, that they don't have that much asset, I have seen that they give very generously whatever they can. That is the beauty of. And what Krishna is saying is right, that those are the people who are interested to serve Krishna. So we have to be extremely careful when we receive those kind of riches in a worldly manner. We have to be extremely careful. Otherwise, we may lose the chance of serving Krishna, which is very, very rare. Even to get the human form of life is very rare. What to speak of the opportunity to serve Krishna. How many human being is, serving Krishna? Just think about it. Very, very few person. So we should feel so fortunate that somehow or other Krishna has given us the chance to come close, and I think we should take full advantage of it and cross over this nations of material existence. So with those thoughts, always remain happy, jubilant, and totally fearless. And whoever you come across, give them a kind word that their life can also become successful and totally fearless. With those thoughts, I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the desk of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. It's not easy to maintain steadfastness, to wake up every single day at the same time. So my humble obeisances at the desk of those devotees who maintain that steadfastness and try to improve. From Houston, Fresno, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Aurora, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Boston, Boise, Atlanta, Phoenix, Tempe, Austin, College Station, San Jose, Portland, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago, Naperville, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Baltimore, Baton Rouge, Alachua, Orlando, Sanford, Jacksonville, Loganville, Georgia, Maine, Ottawa, New Orleans. I don't think so from anybody from New Orleans. Laguna Beach, Calcutta, Toronto, New Delhi, and Pondicherry. Gopika always joined from Pondicherry. What a great determination. Living in India, it's awkward time to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But these great warriors show that how much interest they have to chant the holy name. We should chant so steadily in the morning that definitely we'll be able to chant in the afternoon also. That is the advantage of chanting early in the morning and absorbs completely. So the devotees who has to leave for their occupational duties, they are welcome to leave, and the devotees who wants to hang around for 1 more hour, we will continue. I will chant until 7:30, and then I will keep on chanting for 3 more minutes. If nobody joins, then the call will end, and we will take up any question, comment, corrections, or any reflections. So thank you very much. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda